Hello and welcome to the Retirement Planning Podcast, your trusted source for navigating the path to a secure retirement. Your host and guide on this journey towards financial peace of mind is Darrin McComas. On this show, we'll delve into everything you need to know about retirement planning, from investment strategies and risk management to maximizing your Social Security benefits and crafting a resilient financial plan using the bucket plan financial process. Join me as we bring you insights from top financial experts, share stories of successful retirement journeys, and provide practical tips to help you build and preserve your wealth. Let's embark on this adventure together as we strive towards a future where retirement isn't just a dream, but a well-planned reality.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Retirement Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Darrin McComas.
And I'm Jason Fox.
All right, well, we're on episode 12. Can't believe that already. A couple new updates for me. It's summer. We're busy camping, getting out on the water, things like that. It's been a great summer, starting to get some good weather finally. And next week, I'm going to the tax management journey. I'll be back in Charleston, South Carolina with Prosperity Capital Advisors President Dave Allison. And it's a 2-day workshop where we're doing a deep dive into today's topic, which is the one big beautiful bill.
Right.
And I know that tax management journey workshop, we're going to really look at different strategies and ways we can help our clients save money by being proactive on tax planning. So that's exactly what we're going to hit today in today's episode. So Jason, what do you got going on in your neck of the woods?
My daughter's learning to swim, so we're spending hours and hours in the pool and playing and having fun and, just getting used to that. And it's been great. I've found myself thinking over and over again how lucky I am to be in a position to enjoy that with my daughter and my wife. And it's been great. We're enjoying the summer.
That's awesome. I have to tell myself, go outside, enjoy this beautiful weather we have. Yes. Because when January and February rolls around and it's minus 20 outside.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I can't wait for days like this.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Well, I know it's summer, but we just had a major event, July 4th, right? I can't believe next year, what is it going to be, 250 years?
Since the
Declaration of
1776, right?
So.
Yeah.
Crazy, but also on July 4th this year, President Trump signed in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
Yes, big conversation around here, yes.
Gotta love the name. We'll call it the OBBB from here on out, just to save time and be a little more efficient.
Because it's a mouthful otherwise, right?
Yeah, so this really made permanent, at least permanent until the next...
Until the next person gets in office and decides to blow everything up and change everything, right?
Yes, yep. And with one sign in the pen, everything changes. But for now, we're going to basically make these tax codes that were under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act when President Trump's first term in office were introduced. These are going to be made permanent. I think that's the most fundamental thing with this OBBB bill is these tax brackets that we've enjoyed for the last several years are now going to be permanent because they were set to sunset at the end of 2025. And for almost every single American out there, that was going to be a significant tax increase if this bill hadn't been passed.
Right. Yeah. And so it's really a great opportunity for anyone who's in that stage of life where they're wanting to do some tax planning and things like that. It's a gift.
It really is a gift. It's like a generational opportunity to do some tax planning right now. And I think that's the theme of today's episode, really, is be proactive. Think about your situation. Is your advisor being proactive? Are they bringing strategies and ideas of how you can take advantage of this gift that the One Big Beautiful Bill, the OBBB, has afforded us? So we're going to take a look at these tax brackets on the next slide here. We'll put these up for those that are watching on YouTube. I think the biggest thing starting next year when you go to file your taxes for 2025 is that the standard deduction is going to go up, as well as and we're going to hit on this later on, is that you're going to get an additional tax deduction if you are 65 years or older. So let's break down a couple examples here. A lot of our clients are 65 and plus and married. So Let's say if you were making around 75,000, married, filing a joint tax return, and let's kind of go back historically. Let's go back to the 1980s. We all remember the 80s. That's when we grew up, right? In 1980, if you were married, filing a joint return, made $75,000, your effective tax rate was around 30%. And that would have put you somewhere in the 28 to 33% marginal bracket. But if your effective rate would have been approximately 30%. Go back 25 years ago, 2000, right? The effective tax rate based on 75,000 of income would have been around 17%. And that would have put you in the 28% marginal tax bracket.
Right.
Well, today, that same 75,000 puts you at an effective tax rate of around 6%. And that puts you in the 12% bracket marginally. But gosh, 1980, you would have been in the 30 percentile for your effective tax rate.
Yeah, that's a big difference, right? Like, and when you start to look at that historically and where we're at, what an awesome opportunity now to be in just the, 6% effective tax rate.
Yeah. I mean, you can make almost $100,000. I think the top of the 12% bracket is $96,950.
Right.
That's a significant amount of income for most Americans. Well, what if you make more? $150,000 worth of income. Again, married, filing a joint return. Go back to 1986, that would have been an effective tax rate, again, around 33%. You would have been in that 38 to 50% marginal bracket. Gosh, could you imagine the 50% bracket? 2000, you would have been around 22% for your effective tax rate. But today, that puts you an effective tax rate of around 13%. It puts you in the 22% marginal bracket. And so,
And I would say for most of our retirees, they're not going to be over that for taxable income.
Right.
Perhaps with, capital gains and different things of that nature, you might exceed that. But that's part of our tax planning strategies, right? To make sure we're not realizing taxable income that goes much beyond that.
Yeah.
Most of our clients anyway.
And I really pay attention when I'm working with clients I really pay attention to their effective tax rate.
Right, sure.
More than their marginal, right? Effective tax rate. You're going to have some money that's taxed at that 0% bracket, some at the 10, some at the 12. And if you're going up into the 22 or 24% bracket, you just got to blend those tax rates together to get your effective tax rate. And even though you might marginally be in the 22 or 24% or higher, what's your overall effective rate? I think that's the one really to pay attention to when it comes to tax planning.
That's where the rubber meets the road, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what's most important.
Yeah. And, with this new bill that was just passed, there's a great window to do some capital gains where you can realize some long-term capital gains. So these are maybe stock positions or securities you've held for more than a year that maybe you've had for a long time, right? We've had a great historic run up in the markets. Really, since 2008, the markets have gained significantly. And if you have some old stock positions that are 10, 15 years old, you bought them at a low basis. Now they've appreciated greatly. You have some significant long-term capital gains, but that's created this kind of illiquided investment where you're not willing to eat the taxes on that.
We had a client not long ago that was in and has a big position in Microsoft that was purchased many years ago. And, that's part of the struggle there is that doesn't want to sell because of the capital gains that would be there. But someone in that position can unwind a little by little, whether you're single or married, you can unwind, roughly 50 to 100,000 per year tax free.
Tax free. Who doesn't like free? So and of course, this depends on your income. Again, we're not your advisor, probably. We're again, double check with your CPA and tax professionals on this, but you could be single and you can make up to $48,350 of taxable income and still realize some sales of long-term capital gains at 0% on those gains. Married filing jointly, that's $96,700 roughly of taxable income that you can still unwind some of those investments and create more liquidity for yourself. Right. And that's like our client that has those Microsoft positions. He was basically relegated to the fact that he'll have to pass that on to his daughter one day so she can step up. And that account really was untouchable to him. But now there's an opportunity for us to start nibbling away at that position and free up some of that stock, maybe reset his cost basis on that if he wants to get back in eventually, or just diversify, right? Because the highly concentrated position can create problems too.
Yeah, in his situation in particular, diversification was going to be a huge advantage for him because so much of his portfolio was allocated to that Microsoft stock.
Yeah. So great planning opportunity around long-term capital gains, and really you just have a few more years to really dive into that. A couple new provisions with this bill. There are some new deductions and credits. Most of these are only temporary, so they'll be from 2025. They'll end at 2028. We're not going to dive into these first couple too deep today.
Right.
They don't really apply to most people who are retired or getting close to retirement. That's number one, no tax on tips. There are different phase outs on deduction caps on that, but those do, for a lot of hardworking Americans that rely on those tips, that's going to be a significant increase to their income, not having to pay taxes on those. And then no tax on overtime. Again, if you're not working, you're retired, you probably don't really care too much about this, but maybe your kids are working and they have the opportunity to go into overtime and earn some extra money. There's going to be, depending on, again, there's phase outs and deduction caps on these, but they can have overtime not taxed, which is, I think, great.
It's great. Yeah, it benefits so many hardworking people out there, and it's great to see. But as you said, doesn't really affect retirees too much, right?
Yeah. And then third, auto loan interest deduction. So if you buy a new car, there's some provisions in there that has to be made in America. It can't be an imported vehicle. And there's some other specific things you'd want to pay attention to.
Right.
This will not, if you bought a car a few years ago, as I understand it, does not apply to that. It has to be purchased in 2025. And then you can deduct that interest on your auto loans. There are, I believe, caps and phase outs on that as well. But enough on those. Those are all great. But the one for our clients is the senior deduction.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Yep. And again, this is temporary, 2025 to 2028. But we have some great time here where enjoy this extra deduction. It's an extra $6,000 for each individual age 65 or older. Again, that's $6,000 if you're 65 and older.
And the nice part about that is that's $6,000 on top of the pre-existing standard deduction. Yeah. So that's in addition to.
Yeah. So with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, you were probably getting around $2,000 as an additional deduction in addition to the standard deduction. Now you get to keep that additional standard deduction for being senior age, and you get an extra $6,000 per person. I can't say that enough because we've had a lot of clients. Is that, well, if we're married, is that just $6,000 for a married couple? And it's like, no, that's $6,000 per individual, $12,000 if you are married, filing a joint return. So it does phase out. It's reduced by 6% of your modified adjusted gross income if you're making over $75,000 of taxable income for a single filer, $150,000 as a married filing joint couple, and a complete phase out if you're making over $175,000 of taxable income as a single filer, $250,000 as a married filing a joint return. But I think Trump originally ran his second term campaign saying that he did not want to tax Social Security. Right. I know a lot of people, especially retired age people, collecting Social Security, thought that was a great idea. Eventually that got modified into this. So Social Security is not tax-free, but this deduction, I think for a lot of Americans, is actually a better deal than not having their Social Security.
Yeah, and I think, the individuals who really rely on Social Security, to your point, are going to realize a better deal than they might have with just straight no tax on Social Security. And those who are phased out of it, realistically, probably don't care too much about their Social Security check. Right.
We'll put this slide up. This is the bonus deduction that we're talking about. So if you're watching us on YouTube, check this out. Single filer, your standard deduction under this OBBB Act is $15,750. You keep that extra deduction that
Right.
was in there before for $2,000. Then you get this additional $6,000 bonus deduction if you're age 65 and older. So that add all that up. It's $23,750 for your deduction
Right.
that you get to use next year. Now, if you're married, right? Married filing joint return, your standard deduction is now $31,500. You get that extra deduction that was in there from the past at $3,200. If you're both age 65 and older, you get an additional $12,000. Again, you're both 65 and older. So that adds up to $46,700. That's a significant deduction.
That is a big deduction. Yes. And that's before you get into, the marginal tax brackets and things like that. So, depending on what you're making, you might be in the 0% tax bracket or very low anyway, right? After a deduction like that.
That additional deduction, in my head, the first place my brain goes is, hey, we got a great opportunity to do some more tax planning, more maybe Roth conversions.
Absolutely.
Now, if you are married, but only one of you is age 65 or older, your total deduction then is $39,100. Still an increase in your deduction overall from years past. So I can't say this enough. I'm a huge Ed Slott fan. Ed Slott talks a lot about, Ed Slott's one of the most well-known CPAs. He's a renowned expert in retirees saving tax money. He talks about this all the time, diffusing the IRA tax time bomb. You may be getting close to retirement or just entered retirement. You've been very diligent about sticking money away in that IRA or 401k and accumulating a significant amount of wealth. On the tax deferred side, we have what Ed Slott calls as a tax time bomb, because there's nothing individual about an IRA, right? Individual retirement account. Well, it sounds like it's my account, but that is a joint partnership with the United States government. And when you go to pull that money out of the 401k or the IRA, it counts as ordinary income and it's going to get taxed.
Yes.
So we have this perfect storm set up with the one big beautiful bill, and that is historically low tax rates.
Right.
We have the Secure Act, which is still intact. Secure Act 2.0 changed a lot of things of how Americans will inherit. There's going to be a inherit IRA or 401k money. There's going to be a great wealth transfer in the next 10 to 20 years.
Yeah.
As kids start to inherit mom or dad's tax deferred money, they only have 10 years. If it's an IRA or 401k, any tax deferred account, the kids, the non-spouse beneficiaries, only have 10 years to drain that account.
Right. And then that, in most cases, those kids are working, they have, decent jobs themselves, but then that inheritance, because they have to take that as earned income, will kick them up into marginal tax rates that are significantly higher in some cases. So then your kids are having to pay additional taxes because of that inheritance.
Yeah. I've seen some estimates where if someone receives from mom or dad, let's say a $3 million IRA, that sounds like a great, and
it is a blessing.
Significant amount, but based on their income, if that pushes them up, say, into the 37% bracket, because $3 million, well, if you have to pull out around $300,000 every year for 10 years to drain that IRA account, pushes you up into that highest tax bracket, you could be talking approximately losing a third of that $3 million to taxes, whether it's state, local, and federal taxes.
And we always talk with our clients, while it's a blessing, no matter what, whether it's taxed at 30%, 40%, whatever, that's still a blessing for your kids. But if you have the option to either do it that way or to do it tax-free or at least tax-reduced, why not choose the latter option, right?
Yeah, unless you really like leaving Uncle Sam a big tip, and it just comes down to doing some proactive tax planning. Why we have this
plan, right?
Have a plan. And then, the third thing, besides historically low tax rate, right, this Secure Act that compresses your distribution timeline, the third thing is the rising future tax risk from growing deficits. We're going to hit this here in a second, but we're approaching 37 trillion in debt as a country, and that number's growing faster. A lot of people that were against this bill are saying this is only going to accelerate that debt and push us over $40 trillion in debt quicker than without this bill. So time will tell if this strategy pans out or not. But I think the idea is that politicians today do not have any appetite for reducing spending, right, and increasing taxes until they absolutely have to. There will be a point in the future where taxes will have to go up.
Right. And if history is any indicator, regardless of who's in office, no matter which political party is in office, they just find ways to spend more money. They might spend it in different areas, but they are nonetheless spending that money. And so at some point, we're going to have to pay the piper, right? We can't continue to run up our deficit indefinitely. And at some point, we've got to reduce spending or increase taxes or a little bit of both or something along those lines, right? Which goes back to why this is such a great opportunity to take advantage of these historically low tax rates.
Yeah. This is a great window. So Ed Slott, huge fan of Ed Slott, he basically says there's two ways you can diffuse this tax time bomb. Number one, convert this money over into a Roth, but do it with the help of a professional, know the pros and cons, know what you're going to be eating in taxes to do that. And the second way is to insure it, right? Turn that into life insurance where you can leverage your money to purchase life insurance. Because when kids inherit or your spouse inherits life insurance, it is completely tax-free in most situations.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just one of several tools that are available, but you got to know how to use them. And you can't just kind of be willy-nilly with it, right? You got to make sure that every single step is laid out in a systematic way that's going to benefit you and your family.
Absolutely. So why act now, right? We've talked at the very beginning, be proactive. Well, there's growing political risk, right? Our deficit is approaching $37 trillion in this country. That's over $107,000 per person in America that we are obligated to pay off on that part of the debt. You see this historical pattern. If you look back over the last 100 years, every time I'm not going to say every time, but most times we've had a tax cut, it's followed by a tax increase a few years later. And permanent doesn't mean unchangeable, right? As we know that, these may be deemed permanent right now. Tax laws are written in pencil.
Yes.
So we got to keep that in mind. And number two, there's demographic pressure, right? We're seeing, and I'm sure you've all heard about this, Social Security. Just this year, a new report came out saying that Social Security will run into a shortfall, not in the year 2035, but they moved that number up to the year 2033.
Right.
Which they've estimated that would take about a 23% reduction in Social Security benefits. So can you imagine losing 23% of your Social Security check?
That's a big deal. And while we think in this office that they're likely to make some changes to address that in the coming years, that doesn't change the fact that we are up against some challenges within the scope of Social Security as well as our debt and things of that nature, right?
Yeah, and Medicare, right? Medicare keeps getting more and more expensive each year, and that's a government-funded. And we have an aging population.
Yeah.
Baby boomers, right? It's a huge population. They're getting older. More healthcare costs, more government costs. The writing's on the wall, right? We have the Social Security potentially running out of money or running into a shortfall by the year 2033, rising Medicare, rising healthcare costs that our government has to fund. And what's the solution, Jason? What do you think our government's going to probably have to do?
We are going to have to cut costs and raise taxes, most likely, right? Or some combination of that, for sure.
My personal feeling is no politician wants to be on the job if Medicare goes underfunded.
No.
They won't be on the job very long. They'll probably be voted out very soon.
Right.
So they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that doesn't happen. One of the tools is probably going to be raising payroll taxes and income taxes to make sure that gets kicked down the road, at least for a few more years, right?
Until they're no longer in office anyway, right? So.
All right, and the third reason you should act now, we'll kind of wrap up this episode, is deal with mathematical certainty. I love telling clients, let's deal with what is certain. We don't know what's coming down the road. We kind of have a good idea, but we don't know. Deal with what's certain in this moment of time. We know this one big, beautiful bill and what the taxes are.
Right.
So let's operate in this space. Let's take advantage of it the best we can. And, moving money from pre-tax accounts to a Roth or to life insurance could be a potential significant savings, not only on taxes, but could add more generational wealth, more wealth that you can pass on to those kids and grandkids instead of going off to Uncle Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. Now is the time to be proactive. Now is the time to open the gift. Now is the time to reach out to us. Make sure you have a plan. If you don't have a financial advisor, we'd love to consult with you, and that's a free consultation. If you do have a financial advisor and they're not being proactive in contacting you and talking to you about some tax strategies related to the one big beautiful bill, then maybe you should still have a consultation with us, right?
Doesn't hurt to get a second opinion for free, right?
Absolutely.
So again, be proactive. If you are working with a financial professional that's a fiduciary, great. But make sure they're looking at this also through the lens of taxation and what could you be doing proactively over these next several years that could potentially put you in a much better position than just not doing anything. I know we're going to be communicating regularly with our clients and having some great strategies as we head into the fall about Roth conversions and what we could be doing today to take advantage of this. Because in my opinion, we got a huge extension on that. We thought this would be the end of those historically low tax rates, but now we know we have them through 2028. So how can you reach us? You can go on the internet. It's ewadvisors.com, or you can give us a call at 509-740-4183. Talk to us, get on the calendar for a free consultation. We'll talk about your unique situation and see if we can add any value. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. That's helps us spread the word about these important topics to more and more people. We're going to dive into the one big beautiful bill in more detail. We're going to pick specific topics like capital gains, as well as Roth conversions, and do a much deeper dive in single episodes around that. So we really appreciate you subscribing and watching us on YouTube or listening to us on your favorite podcast player. But until next time, thanks for watching the Retirement Planning Podcast.
See you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to the Retirement Planning Podcast. We hope we inspired you to make changes so you can live your best life. If you want to find out more about what we do, or you want to have a holistic wealth and health financial plan, please visit our website. Please subscribe to the podcast and share it widely with your friends and family. Financial planning and advisory services are offered through Prosperity Capital Advisors. PCA is an SEC-registered investment advisor with its principal place of business in the state of Ohio. Evergreen Wealth Advisors and PCA are separate non-affiliated entities. PCA does not provide tax or legal advice. Insurance offered through Evergreen Wealth Advisors are not affiliated with PCA. Information received from this podcast should not be viewed as individual investment advice. Product discussions and illustrations are hypothetical in nature and will vary based on many factors, including but not limited to age, health, product, insurance carrier, and product design. You should consult the insurance carrier website and policy for detailed information pertaining to the registration status of PCA. Please contact the firm or refer to the Investment Advisor Public Discourse website disclosure statement as set forth on Form ADV from PCA using the contact information herein. Please read the discourse statement carefully before you invest or send money.